Once again, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
I think we should start at the beginning. So when did you first meet Grace? How did the project come about?
I made a film about her brother, Noel Jones, Bishop Noel Jones, Pentecostal bishop in America, quite big in the black church circuit. And I made a film, and she saw that film. And that was where we met, and we just kind of got on. And I think what she really liked about the film was that I looked at his church sermons and as a performance, in a way, which within a church, headspace, you wouldn't do that. It's like that's a manifestation of the Word of God. But it was like looking at the extraordinary performance of his sermons and the community. So that was from that I met her. And then she contacted me 18 months later, saying that she'd been approached by a TV station. They wanted to make a film, but she didn't want to do the kind of thing that they would want to do, and that why didn't we do something together? So she initiated it, and we just started from that point. And then she would call me and say, I'm going here, will you come? And we just spent time together, and sometimes not filming, and that was really how it just started. And I always, when people ask me about this, and how did it start, someone in the red carpet said to her, Grace, did you know that this is the film, that this is what you were going to make? And she said, well, when you conceive a child, you don't know what it will become. And so that was really it was like a seed was sown, and we just followed. And that's the beauty of documentary. You're not in control. I mean, you try to capture what you can, and you always are working to see what the material can show you, what life is going to deal you, and there's a beauty in that process. And that's what she would follow the yellow brick road. We kind of floated through life.
So it was quite open-ended, the project.
Yeah. It might not have been finished, it could have not happened,
So how did you then decide this is now the time, this is the moment to finish the film?
Well, she kept saying to me, she enjoyed all the filming, but she also kept saying, I'm not in any hurry, And I thought, does that mean she's not ready? So I knew when it was time to finish it when I was in Paris, and I filmed the conversation with Jean-Paul Goude, and her granddaughter had just been born, and I felt that was just a kind of great closure for the documentary narrative layer. But I also knew that I really wanted to include her performance, because it had changed so much from the one-man show times. And I wanted to make a document of that. And I wanted to really, make it aesthetically as strong as I could.
So this whole live performance was designed exclusively for the film then?
Yeah. Yeah, this is not something you can see anywhere else but in the film. We created this performance, and we only had 2 nights to film it. And in fact, when Grace came on stage on the first night, she'd never been in that set at all. She didn't even know what was going to happen around her, lights-wise. Because I had said to her, if you want to come and be a part of the lighting of the show, we had a stand-in, because I had to light every song, and I chose the set list. And I had done a rough edit of the documentary, so I could select the songs that could work in the way that a musical would work, where the songs emphasize the narrative development. So she didn't actually want to do that in the end. She liked the kind of drama and pressure of stepping on the stage and having to, be in the moment as a performer.
This process of filming her has been going on for more than a decade, right?
I filmed her for 5 years, and then I worked on raising the money to be able to create the performance.
But
and for her to be ready for it to be completed.
And in between, you also worked on other projects,
Yeah.
like the second film with Zizek
and the Kiefer film.
The Kiefer film, Over Your City's
Yeah.
Grass Will Grow.
Yeah, and I also made some other shorter films.
Did those films influence the process of Bloodlight and Bami? Like, was there some crossover influences?
Well, I mean, certainly working with Slavoj is, what's beautiful about working with Slavoj is that it just fills you with so many thoughts and ideas, particularly when it comes to visual imagery. So, you know, I definitely, and in fact, I remember when I had made The Pervert's Guide to Cinema, and I was with Grace, and we'd gone somewhere for like a long weekend to see a particular show. And then I said, oh, I'd love you to watch this. And then she was like, you know, in bed with a glass of wine and watching it and laughing and going, oh, I'm so happy someone's finally saying this. and that was particularly the stuff around vertigo. You know, and it's when Slavoj says, you know, for the male libidinal economy, the only good woman is a dead woman. And, you know, this idea of Grace being this woman whose desire is out there. You know, she's not waiting to be asked. She's, you know, she's a woman who is in possession of her desire, her erotic desire. And so this kind of idea of her very aliveness as an erotic feminine force, I think was kind of something that there was a crossover there in what I had sort of read in Slavoj's Metastases of Enjoyment and all that stuff about femininity was kind of, you know, definitely influenced the way that I could think about, you know, about Grace.
Any question from the public at this point? Not yet. Can you talk? Can you just get the microphone, please?
Is the Grace actually like that? I was just looking absolutely fabulous humor show. You know what I mean? Pats and Edina, you know, absolutely fabulous humor show. Is she really like that?
Yes, she is like that.
Okay. Another question, perhaps? Okay. Can you maybe talk about the decision to shoot the film on Super 16?
Well, I work with this wonderful cinematographer, Remco Schnoor, who's Dutch. And, you know, he and I love the excuse to shoot on film because it just takes light differently. And I always remember a friend of mine who'd met David Lynch once, and he came back and reported to me this conversation with David Lynch, who had said, you know, something cosmic happens when you push light through celluloid. And I think it's really true. I think it's, you know, it's true. So there's just this, the grain, you know, has its own life. Now with being able to scan, with, you know, ARRI scanners in post-production, you can scan film. So you can actually see film in a whole new way now because it's not moving around in a gate as a projection. So there's a kind of crossover between post-production and shooting on film, which is really exciting.
We mentioned Zizek, but you also made films with choreographer Michael Clark and Alain Platel. So your films seem to be centered around really strong individual artists.
Well, one of the things I would say, talking about film again, going back to film, one of my reference points in my head, which I love, is Gilda, Rita Hayworth, the film of Gilda, and the way that that's shot, and, you know, the dance, and being able to see, you know, so working with dance and having film dance, I did see this as, you know, wanting to be able to see Grace's body working, not just her singing, but also the way that she moves, and in needing to make sure that the space could be absolutely clear of all of the cables or the stands of the musicians. If the band are too close, you don't get that graphic sense of her body. So I took a lot of what I had learned from working in dance in terms of lighting and and filming, but
We were talking about this before, that she has a lot of problems with the practicalities of doing a live concert, and here she got a chance
well,
to do it in a
she doesn't
completely-
have problems. I, as an aesthetically minded person watching it, wanted it to be good, but she can kind of, you know, you could put her anywhere and she'll make
just
an amazing
adapt.
performance out of where, you know, she might start in the middle complaining about it in the middle of the performance, but, you know, she doesn't have, you know, she's particular. But for me, it was critical that you could experience this graphic quality to her. So I really want, you know, that's why she's on a riser, so the monitors are lower in front of her.
Grace Jones is also a star, and following her you came in contact with other like famous people and musicians like Sly and Robbie or Jean-Paul Gault in Paris. Were they welcoming and open towards your camera?
Yeah, they were great. You know, they were very. I think Grace was always going, "Oh, this is nothing. This is just for me. This is just family archive." You know, she was always kind of downplaying because we didn't really know. I mean, as I say, it could have not happened. There was a point where, for me, it was like I can't really make another film until I've completed this. I've got these boxes of tapes sitting here, and I was like, Grace, now I think it really is time. To kind of go, it's a big work to kind of go into all that material, but they were great. I mean, Jean-Paul was, you know, she doesn't see him that much, so there was, I think you can feel there's a sort of frisson between them of these kind of lovers who've shared a lot, creative people who've made stuff together, and in fact, he was interviewing her for the magazine that he was photographing her for. And while she was getting changed, ready for the interview, he said to me, what am I gonna ask her? And so I was like, oh, well, actually, can you ask her about her relationship to authority? Can you ask her about Mass P? You know, so I was able to actually plant some questions.
So basically he was asking her that about Mass P and...
Yeah, I mean, he was asking her, he was meant to interview her. So that's why there was this sort of slightly formal interview going on, because it was in this magazine called Visionaire that he was photographing her for, and that picture is the last picture that he's taken of her. I don't know if he'll take another.
Maybe another question from the public? No? In the meantime, you started or already finished your next project, which is a short film. Can you say a few words about this?
Well, it's a dance film. It's a 25-minute dance film that we shot on film with Remco again, and it's a company called Stopgap that is what they call integrated dance, meaning that 3 of the people have disabilities. Well, one is a Down syndrome performer, and there's another a dancer who's got no legs. There's a dancer who's paralyzed from the waist down. They work as a troupe all the time. They tour a lot. And then there's 2 able-bodied. And it's a performance, it's a reduction of a stage show that we reset it in this derelict shopping mall somewhere outside London, which is a very strange space because it's everything you know of the architecture of the shopping mall, but everything is stripped away. So it's when you've been in that space and then you go on the underground or you go through a shopping arcade, it's strange. You have this strange kind of, you know, echoes of this completely stripped out kind of remainder of a familiar space.
Are you still in contact with Grace?
Yeah, we did the audio commentary for the DVD in America on Friday.
In which voice did you do it?
Well, she started in a kind of very African voice, and then by the end she was like, yeah, fucking hell. So she traveled the globe in her voice within the session.
Last chance for a question for Sophie. Then I would really like to thank you very much for
Thank
being with
you.
us. I hope you had a great time.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. I liked seeing the stars, and
Yeah.
you know, it's amazing. And the sound was pretty great in this courtyard.
Okay, then I just propose we continue in a more informal setting. with a drink and something to eat.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Najlepša hvala tudi vam.
Thank you.